Hello and welcome back to Legends of the Stars, well, Legend of the Stars, I should say, qualifying tournament number 3. We just saw Mephi take down Morax on the Goodlands, so now we're going to go through and see how our next round is going to play out for Mephi and Nexus of Reality. They are going to have to take each other head on to keep their dreams alive for this tournament. Alright, we are going to switch over to Niflheim, so get your winter hats on. It is going to be a cold one, especially for one of our players. There we go. Alright, so we have got a nice frozen wasteland called Niflheim. In the top left corner, we have got fresh Egg, who happens to also be named Mephi. He is going to go UEF once again. He's going to throw down his first land factory. We can see a stack of power generators planned for his ACU, as well as grabbing those first 2 mixes there with that guy. He's got 1 air factory in there, so it looks like he's going to go second air and then third land. Let's just fix up that mini-map and get ready to go and see how Nexus of Reality is getting on. So he has also opted for UEF. He has gone bright red. He's going to throw down his first land factory. We can see a whole stack of power generators and only a single mass extractor build command thus far. He's going to get to work on that while his engineers come out the gate. Where are those guys going to go? Are they going to be coming across for this ever so standard reclaim? That is exactly what they're going to do. We can see those manual reclaim orders going down. That is going to help fill up the coffers there for Nexus. We've got a very similar play up here from Mephi. He's going to go and grab that manual reclaim. That's going to give him the mass that he needs to try and take on Nexus of Reality. Okay, we've got a raiding party out here, so we've got a mech marine out from Mephi. He's going to head around the side. It looks like he is going to come down, try and cause a little bit of a nuisance. He is looking for that engineer. So he is aware that there will be a reclaim engineer out from Nexus. He's going to try and be fast enough to grab it, but I just don't think that is going to be the case. It looks like the manual reclaim there from Nexus is going to get that engineer completed and get him out of harm's way pretty quickly, although he may get chased down. He's still done the job there for Nexus. He's got a mass extractor there that may actually be denied if Mephi is fast enough. So far, no raiding out, in fact, no combat units whatsoever for Nexus of Reality. He is going to go solely on engineer, and there's the first striker. It is going to be coming out any second now. That is going to be easily enough to deal with this mech marine if it can get into position on time. And actually that engineer is still hanging around there, only just finishing with the reclaim and going to take out those 2 mech positions. And there's some lovely chatter going on in the chat there. I don't think we really need to know that, Mephi. Okay, this engineer is actually going to get taken out. A very nice bit of micro there is going to let that mech marine take the engineer out. Down it goes. That is 1 kill for him. Immediately, though, the striker is coming to respond. There is another couple of strikers already produced as well, so those guys are going to come out and fend off that mech marine. Will live to fight another day, though, because mech marine's just that little bit faster. They can escape. That is very nice indeed for him, and he even has some strikers back here to back it up, so that will be enough to stop him losing and having the engineers up here taken out and pushing Mephi back into his base. This engineer down here, though, he is going to be able to continue on with his build plans. He's going to finish that mass extractor and come across for the second one. Both these guys sitting on 11 mass per tick, so very even in terms of expansion. We do see a build order down for Mephi on this hydro, though, so he's obviously pretty confident that he can hold this position, and it is worth investing in that hydro. Down here, though, we don't see quite the same level of confidence from Nexus of Reality at this point. He doesn't have an order down to grab that hydro. Alright, the ACU is moving out for Nexus of Reality. He is going to come up to the north. He is going to basically come along this plateau and come around and cause all sorts of trouble. We see the exact opposite coming down here from Mephi. He is going to bring his ACU down the bottom and over the south plateau to cause trouble for Nexus. It looks like there is going to be a bit of an advantage here in the around this hydro. to Nexus. There is just a single striker there from Mephi. That goes down pretty quickly, and that leaves this engineer very much open to attack, and there is a scout overhead as well, so the radar from that is going to tell Nexus exactly where that engineer is sitting. The engineer is trying to hide in the corner, but unfortunately there is just nowhere to hide from the radar, and it is going to go down. That means that there's a little bit of a gap here for Mephi. He does need to try and get a few forces in. He's got a few tanks coming out of the factory. There are now 5 strikers online in this area, which is enough to deal with this threat, but down goes a mass extractor, and that's actually putting Nexus in a pretty nice position for economy. He's sitting on 17, mass protect to only 13 there from Mephi. Looks like Nexus just a teensy bit faster at getting his ACUs, just a few meters ahead of where Mephi is in terms of getting up on the plateau. He has managed to do that damage to the eco. Very, very nice indeed. Alright, Mephi is going to instead settle for this hydro around the back. He's got an engineer coming in here. He's going to build that hydro, and it looks like he's not actually going to throw down an air factory around it, which is a very common thing you might see on a hydro, but he's in fact going to just use that engineer to reclaim some of those trees. Reclaiming trees, that means that he's maybe thinking about needing a little bit more power. He's actually got a decent amount of power in the bank. He's not floating a whole lot though, so he's pretty well balanced just at the minute. He's got 1500 reclaim. Nexus Reality sitting on 1400 reclaim, but wow, the power situation is not quite as pretty here for Nexus. He is all out of energy in his bar, and he is sitting in the negative most of the time, so a little bit of a power stall there. That's going to be a little bit of a problem for him in terms of keeping his radar up and running. Does he have any radar? Well, that is an interesting question. I don't know that he does. So he has actually managed to get that hydro online, which is probably going to sort out his power situation just a little bit. Still very, very balanced though, but he is in a slightly better spot than he was. Mephi very nicely coming in here and raiding this mass extractor. Even if Nexus is able to push him out, he's still going to lose that mass extractor. That is a problem for Nexus. He doesn't want to be losing. His advantage right now is that extra mass per tick, and that is going to get whittled away pretty quickly, especially if this force comes down here from Mephi. I'm not sure if Mephi is aware that he is a clean run right through to these mass extractors and this engineer, but if he did, he would definitely take it. So he probably just needs a little bit more scouting, and he may even be using interceptors for scouting right now. It looks like Nexus is onto this plan though. He's probably aware that there is something coming on this side. He is dispatching all of his strikers in the vicinity to come across here. I think it's going to be pretty even, and by the time you factor in being closer to the production here for Nexus, it's probably going to hand him a little bit of a win. In fact, this is why Mephi was bringing his interceptors forward. It was not for scouting at all. It was because he knew there was a transport, and that transport gets picked off without managing to achieve a single thing for Nexus. So no drops up on the plateaus here for Nexus. That is a little bit of a shame. Definitely a win there from Mephi, being able to take out that transport. The commander around the north here for Nexus, he's continuing to advance. He's thrown down a single factory, but unfortunately that factory is now actually under a little bit of pressure from a single, very badly damaged striker. He is sitting on just 100 HP, and he's just plinking away. There is a striker due out of this factory any minute now. There it comes. That will be a bit of a problem, so the striker moves off to try and catch a few more kills while he can. It looks like Nexus is going to be successful in pushing Mephi back. The numbers are pretty even right now, but Mephi just doesn't want to leave the reclaim right there for Nexus to pick up. There's already a few wrecks there that will go into Nexus's coffers pretty quick. In fact, we can see there's already an engineer coming up towards the front to be able to grab him. He will make up for it though by dropping a bunch of reclaim down here for Mephi to pick up, because Mephi's got an engineer up here and he's actually building a point defense, so he's definitely determined to hold on to this radar and mass extractor. Mephi managing to deal with the last of that little assault force coming up the right, and that actually now opens up a clean way through here for Mephi. He can come through. There's a single striker standing in his way. There's an engineer just thinking about getting a point defense down. I'm not sure that there is any artillery in the mix. No, the strikers will not have a good time against that point defense. and the strikers are coming in this side from Nexus to head these guys off. Pretty even numbers once again, but Mephi actually getting hit end on, and that is a terrible position to be in. That means Nexus's tanks can all fire on the lead tank from Mephi all at once. Mephi can't return fire very easily at all. And actually we're seeing the same thing again here from Mephi. Very, very bad formation, and those guys are getting absolutely shredded when they come into contact with the front line from Nexus. So Mephi looks like he's probably able to field just a little bit more units. Let's just check the numbers. We've got strikers. We've got 26 strikers on the field for Mephi, and how many for Nexus? Well, 35. It looks like the positioning is just a little bit nicer there for Mephi in a couple of key places, and he's able to effect just a little bit more damage. But it looks like we might be seeing the opposite coming in from Nexus. Now he's spotted an opportunity for himself to come through and do the same kind of thing. Mephi is now having to respond over this side. He is bringing a bunch of tanks, and there's actually a Lobo in the mix as well. Now that there is a point defense or two on the field, those Lobos are coming in. Those guys are going to come in and try and block this advance. Unfortunately for Mephi, those guys are dribbling in really, really slowly, one by one. They definitely want to get in formation a little bit better, otherwise they're going to get eaten alive by the tightly packed units from Nexus. The fighting down in the south continues, with Mephi continuing to push Nexus back, but he's still cautious of leaving all the reclaim. We can see just the number of wrecks that are going onto the ground and will be feeding Nexus's war machine. He does want to be careful with that. Unfortunately for Nexus, he just loses this entire group here because he's pulling most of his units away to the right. He's just pulling them back. He is aware that he does not have the numbers to fight what Mephi has got right now. And it looks like Mephi is just starting to get the kind of numbers that he needs to be able to fend off this assault through the middle here from Nexus. But what is looking really unchecked is the advance of Nexus's ACU around the top here. That's actually looking pretty similar to Mephi's ACU. Both these guys rolling around the plateaus and causing all sorts of damage as they roll. There is a single point defense in there, but Mephi was smart enough to bring a couple of Lobos with him. They are going to sit back and bombard the point defense very, very quickly, able to destroy that, except of course for this tank that can kill them. Looks like Nexus is getting pretty much the exact play happening on the north. Those Lobos are coming in. They are laying some fire down onto that point defense. It looks like Mephi trying to keep that guy alive. That is a little bit of a futile attempt. I'm not sure that that is a manual order. That is probably an engineer just automatically helping, because there is no point in sinking eco into a point defense that is being bombarded by artillery. So that frees up the way for Nexus to move his ACU right through there and hit the back of Mephi's base, while we've got this similar thing happening here. Both these guys actually very, very vulnerable to air right now. They've got nothing in the way of air support. There are, how many interceptors on the field? There are, looks like maybe 10 there for Mephi, and maybe just about the similar sort of number there for Nexus. Not a lot. If one guy was to force an air engagement, that's going to leave these guys with pretty much no air on the field, and just a couple of gunships could tear all kinds of holes in the ACU's armor. Looks like Mephi is backing up his ACU, probably just aware that he's a little bit vulnerable there. He's going to bring up his Lobos just to finish off these mass extractors. He's not interested in keeping those guys alive. He just wants to get enough out of their cannons in the few seconds that they've got remaining to be able to take that out. And is there another round out from the Lobo? Is he going to be able to kill this? And no, just shy of being able to take out that mass extractor. We can see that T2 is now starting to hit the field. We've got a bunch of pillars coming out. We've got one up here on the plateau that I saw before, and then we've got one up in this gap here, and one joining these units, chasing down this very, very nice raid here from Mephi. They are causing all sorts of trouble. There are enough Lobos in there to very, very quickly destroy factories and to destroy mass extractors, and we can see those Lobos absolutely going to town, knocking out the units that are trying to build out of that factory and killing the factory to boot. Interestingly, it looks like Nexus is going for a little bit of a play for the top plateau. That is going to get shut down pretty quickly, though, from Mephi. He's got enough tanks up there to ward off such an event. and that is exactly what he is going to do. Nexus does have a pretty firm control on the bottom plateau right up the top there. That is actually, he's still behind in economy. He's sitting on just about 40. That jumped up pretty quickly. Was he power stalling? No power stalling there, and he doesn't have overcharge. And Mephi, he does have overcharge. Actually, he's got quite a bit of surplus power and the ability to overcharge. Alright, we've got a bit of an engagement coming in here. We have got a whole lot of interceptors. I'm not sure what Nexus is going to do to get out of this one, because those pillars have got a whole lot of HP on them, and as we just saw, Nexus is without overcharge. That may have been a fatal error right now. Mephi building that extra power storage to be able to get the overcharge online, but Nexus, he has got no overcharge. He's got nothing to help. He is going to find his ACU caught with its pants down up on the north ridge here, and he is going to go down to a stack of pillars. That is very unfortunate indeed. Wow, so that was a big misstep from the ACU, caught out in the open and completely run down by Tech 1 and 2 units, and that hands the win over to Mephi. Alright, so a very nice play there from Mephi, managing to catch Nexus's ACU out in the open and running him down for a victory. Okay, so that means that Mephi is going to advance. That pushes Nexus of Reality down into the bottom bracket for this qualifying tournament. Next up, we are going to actually drop down into that bottom bracket and see how the losers from our first two matches are going to get on, because one of them is going to keep their hopes alive of staying in the tournament, and the other one will be ejected. Being double elimination, you get just a second chance and no more.